Hello, everyone. I'm Colleen Vanderzyden, and this is Creating an Inspired Life. Happy you're here as usual. It's so nice to have people tuning in, watching, and listening. I'm a medium as well as a life coach. Tonight's coaching tip is all about being disillusioned. And I'm sure you've experienced moments in your life where you expected life to be a certain way, and you end up waking up to some kind of a disillusionment and seeing that it's not quite what you thought it was going to be, or it isn't quite what you thought it was. Being disillusioned means we are disappointed in someone or something that has turned out to be what we think is less good than what we thought it would be. We say we're disillusioned when we might have a relationship with somebody and we find out they're not who we thought they were. We might be disillusioned if we have a job that doesn't turn out to be what we expected. We could even be disillusioned with life itself. As we're growing up as children, we're always being told what to do, where to go, all of those things. And we think as adults, we'll be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want, and no one will be controlling us. But then, as we grow up, we find out we have some adult responsibilities we didn't know about as children. And we think life was going to be a lot easier as an adult. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's more problematic and challenging. And that can lead us onto a little bit of path of disillusionment. We think being disillusioned is a negative state. And we think that it's a bad thing. But what if, instead of it being a bad thing, it's really waking us up from some kind of a stupor or something of unawareness? That what if it's taking us from a limited belief system or a limited perspective and moving us instead into a more powerful sense of self-awareness? One of my clients was complaining about the people in her life. She was complaining about how negative they were and how nasty they were. And it was affecting her to such an extent, because that's all she could see was the negative, that she had formed this belief system that people, all people, which isn't true, but all people were harsh, critical, egotistical, and uncaring. This really affected her because she thought the world was a safe space. But having this belief system in place, based on some limited situations that she had experienced, she made a general statement that people are just not very nice, and it affected her. And so she didn't feel safe anymore. And because of this, she herself started becoming very critical and very judgmental. She allowed herself to be affected by this negativity, this perceived negativity that she thought was everywhere. She was so focused on this that her life experience became very negative. She disconnected from her center. She disconnected from who she truly was, and she was off balance. She was unbalanced. She didn't know where her loving centered self was anymore. She got to the point that she was very disillusioned with life in general. She thought it was very hard. She was disappointed that people weren't very nice and they weren't very kind and caring. And by allowing it to affect her, that really turned her into a negative person as well. Now, of course, we all have those problems and challenges, as I always say. We always will experience negative situations and negative people, but we don't have to let that negativity affect us so much so that we lose track of who we truly are. This disillusionment with my client, she started to really think about this. She didn't want to be miserable anymore. She didn't want to be focused on the negative anymore. She no longer wanted to look at all people and judge them and feel like they were horrible people. What she did is she ended up using that disillusionment and opening her eyes up a little bit to see what was really going on. She used it to kind of reclaim herself and get her awareness back into a state of actually being used. She recognized that she had the power to shift her beliefs, to change her belief systems into something else. She also realized she needed to detach from this perceived negativity rather than allowing herself to get sucked into that negative emotion. You know how sometimes something goes on in our heads and it just goes and goes and we can't get out of it sometimes. That's what can happen if we're fixating on something, and it brings up that sense of disillusionment. Since This, when I talked to her about this, she started to realize that it wasn't all people who were bad. It was just a couple of people, but it affected her so much because she was on the more sensitive side too, that's how come she allowed it to affect her to such a degree that she lost herself. Now, for another example, as I always talk about relationships on here, it seems that's something that we all want to know about. We've all had relationships where the person we're with turns out to be a totally different person than who we thought they were. They're usually not as loving and kind and caring as we thought. Initially, when this happens, when that disillusionment comes in and we go, we're shocked that this person is not the way we thought they were, we will get very sad. It can be very distressing. And what will happen is we need to mourn what we've lost here. We've got to mourn what we thought we had. We thought we had something special, but we don't necessarily, because now our eyes are opening up in our state of disillusionment. We may have made plans in our head or physically, and now they're not working out because it's just not. But because our disillusionment is opening our eyes up to our own awarenesses, opening our eyes up to reality of who we are, who other people are, we're really seeing things a little bit more clearly. It's helping us grow as people and actually have a better life. So disillusionment is not necessarily a bad state. It can be painful and distressing, but it moves you into a new state of awareness that's very important for achieving the life you want to have and creating that. With a relationship, I bet you can look back on a relationship you had at one point where you woke up, you had that disillusion feeling, and then you realized that, you had to move on for whatever reason. But now you look back and you go, wow, I'm so glad I didn't stay with that person. Because if I had stayed with that person, it would have been horrible. So a disillusion can really help you protect you from something that would have been horrible. It's opening you up also to other aspects about yourself, who you are as a person. What is acceptable to you? What are your boundaries? What kind of life do you want to have? Are you having that? What is important to you? That will move you into this new state of questioning, what is it you really want out of life? If you're feeling disillusioned now with a person or a situation or whatever it is, allow it to show you what's important to you. Allow it to show you what needs to be brought to your awareness. What do you feel like you need to know? Maybe you feel like you lost something, which would make sense because disillusionment means you've lost some kind of a belief that is not true. It's been proven disappointingly to not be true. Maybe you feel like you've lost safety or love, or you've lost respect or even happiness. Maybe you thought life would be more carefree and it's not. And you can still take control over your life again by recognizing what it is you've lost. And if you've lost some kind of belief, that's okay because you'll move into a new belief that's even stronger, that's more realistic. And I'm not saying that for my client that all her people that are around her were nasty and negative, because they weren't. It was just what she was looking at right now. So sometimes our beliefs just need to be shifted a little bit to move into a better state. So allow this disillusionment, I don't even know if that's a word, to open your eyes to the facts, to see what's really out there. Let it take you beyond your limited perspectives and beliefs and back into the oh my goodness, I can't talk, the powerful place of who you truly are, that state of awareness where you can figure things out from a more empowered perspective. Let go of a belief if it's not true. Release the expectations of how the world should be or you thought it would be, and see things from a different angle instead. Recognize the power that it's giving you. You're reclaiming your inner power, and when you do that, you're also reclaiming your power to create the life you want and deserve. And that is my coaching tip of the day. Lots of us have experienced being disillusioned, so I thought that would be fun to talk about. It's an interesting little angle when you think about it, so maybe you'll remember it. If you're just joining in, I'm Colleen Vanderzyden, and you can find me at psychicmediumcolleen.com. Also on Facebook, Colleen Vanderzyden, Medium and Self-Empowerment Coach, and I would love for you to follow me there. It would be awesome. So we are actually going to move on right now to our first caller, who is Becky in England. Becky, how are you?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing very well. What can I help you with
Good.
today?
Um, do you want? Is it got to be something specific, or can I just say what are you? Can you pick anything up, or do you want me to? Do you want it to be something specific?
Whatever you want. Frequently, what I find out is if somebody has a specific concern, they'll call for that and they want to address it, and then they'll get irritated if I don't address it. Okay, so if you have something specific, otherwise, what I'll do is I'll connect in with the spirit and see who comes in.
Yeah, okay, do that. I think, please.
Okay, you can always interrupt me and ask something specific as we get going, of course. I do have a spirit who does step in for you, and I have a gentleman as he's coming in. And as he's coming in, I want to be a teasing personality. I want to be somebody that's going to be telling stories and trying to get reactions, especially from children. He loves children. On the other side, he tells me that he passes at a halfway decent age, so we're up in the elderly, but not the oldest ages, so maybe 70s, that area. He's also showing me something going on with my lower back into the hip area. So frequently I'll get a physical sensation for something they may have experienced when they were here. I don't feel a complainer with him, and he does feel like he's related to you. Do you have a grandfather who was a bit of a joker?
Well, I didn't meet one of them.
Okay.
I don't think he was. I think he was very serious. So no, I don't think so.
Okay. So do you know somebody else it might be instead of a grandfather? Because this guy, he's got a really good sense of humor, and I want to be playing with kids. I want to be teasing them and tricking them in a good way, not in a bad way. And I want to be tricking them. And this seems to be very important to him to do that.
No, not really. No, not that I can think of. No.
Okay, just hold on to that information, because whoever wants to come in, I just let them come in and see where they want to go. The reason I feel him coming in is I get the impression that you're actually quite good with people yourself, that you have a very good way with the way, and you have a good sense of how to get the best out of people. And
definitely. I try to.
Yes, I tell you, the right spirit always comes in, even if we don't recognize them right away. And there's the feeling of a connection between the two of you because you are kind of similar to the way he is. And as he's talking about you, he says you understand the concept of being nice to people to get what you want. So if you have a particular need, there's no need to go screaming at someone. And actually, he laughs because he says you would never do that. But you know how to do it in a very respectful, kind way. But he's also telling me you're not a pushover. You'll say what you need to say. He really enjoys how you say things to people. And he gives me the impression you do spend some time guiding others, giving them direction as to how to go about doing things, suggestions, advice. He says you have very good advice because you understand where the other person is coming from. You have a very good sense of insight into what the other person is thinking and feeling. And because of that, the way you talk to them, you're very engaging, and people feel like you really understand them. You must have a lot of very nice friends around you. Do you have a lot of friends or something? Because it seems like you are like amazing.
Yeah, thank you. I do. I love people. So yeah, I like to have lots of people around me. Yeah.
Okay, because it's really cool how he's talking about you. He gives me such a good perspective on you and how good you are. And he gives me such a feeling of joy around you and laughter and love around you. And the effect you've had on other people is so wonderful. And he's very happy with this. I want to talk about two things before I let you go. I still have time. Okay, good. Two things. One, I want to talk about your car. I am assuming you have a car.
No, I don't. I don't drive.
Okay, I want to talk about a car. Okay, does somebody take you places? And let me tell you what I'm feeling. I'm feeling a flat. Okay, in the car, flat tire. I'm feeling a flat, and I want to say the left side, but I'm feeling the right side, so I'm not sure what this means. So, of course, wait a minute. You're in London, so you would be opposite me. So maybe that's why I can't tell which side I'm talking about. Oh, that's funny. So there's a flat. So there's a caution with this. So if you haven't experienced, have you experienced a flat with somebody lately?
No, in cars, but what I am concerned about is on Saturday I need to travel. Well, I booked tickets to go and see my family, and it's like a 6-hour train journey, and then I've got to come back on the Sunday, and I'm really worried that it's going to be too exhausting, the travel. So that could be to do with that, because I don't know whether to go or whether to delay the visit, you see, when I have more time to stay with my family.
Okay. I'm not having a problem with the train at all.
Yeah.
That's fine to me. The flat thing is bothering me. Okay. Are you close enough to the train that you're just going to walk there and get on it?
Yeah. Well, I was going to get a taxi, actually, a cab, so that would be in a car.
Okay. I would feel better if you went earlier than you think you need to go. Just go earlier.
Okay.
So if the train's leaving at 4, get there at 3.
Do you think I should go? Do you think I should go? Do you?
I do, because I'm not feeling any issues with the train. I'm not feeling any issues with you being there, and I'm not feeling any issues with you coming back either. It feels perfectly fine.
I'm not going to be too tired. I'm not going to be tired.
No, I'm not feeling it. I feel like you might be a little tired, but I don't feel that exhaustion feel or anything like that.
Okay,
I'm not feeling that at all. Okay, so I feel very good about that. So the leaving earlier, if you can get there earlier, just to make sure you're there on time. Okay, because coming back, it's not so essential in a way, back to your own place. But getting there, I don't know. I just feel like I want you there earlier, just so you're ready, and there's no chance of you missing.
Yeah, okay. So get to the train station earlier than I need to
get to the train station earlier.
But I will have to get a cab there. I can't walk it. That's the only thing.
Yes.
I have to get a cab.
Yes. And what may happen, I've had people tell me this happens sometimes when I tell them something like that, which I don't do a lot, but you may miss the cab that would have had the flat, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
If you get the cab that does have the flat, you'll still have time, so it's okay. So I'm trying to cover both angles here for you, because I don't want you to miss the train. That feels like
what was the other thing? What was the other thing?
The other thing is kind of wacky. I want to be with pots and pans. Okay, I want to be with pots and pans, and I don't know why I'm putting my hands up and down on top of each other, and usually that means like a stacking of pots and pans. I have no idea what that means. Do you stack your pots and pans? Do you have a lot of pots and pans? What's the deal?
Yeah, well, not particularly. Lots. Normal.
Funny. Okay. Well, keep this in mind, because I'm seeing the pots and pans, and there's something about the way they are angled and stacked. I'm also wondering if somebody is going to drop one, because I get a little bit of a sudden feeling, like startled. I feel like I'm startled. So if that happens, just try not to startle too much, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I love the weird stuff like that, because it's just weird. And it'll be fun to see if it plays out and if it happens, because you'll go, oh, she said that.
Do you get anything, because I'm doing a beauty therapies course, do you get a good anything with that?
With what kind of therapy?
Beauty.
Oh, beauty therapy. No, but it feels right to me.
Yeah, good.
It feels right to me. Yeah, I mean, the way you are with people, it's perfect.
Yeah, thank you.
Because you make people feel good now. I mean, if you're going to do something with beauty stuff too, oh my gosh, you will have so many people around you. It'll be amazing. I mean, it just feels like, what do I want to call it? Expansive. You already have a positive effect, and this is going to affect even more people. So yeah, go. Definitely. Feels good.
Thank you so much, Colleen. Thank you.
You are welcome, Becky. And you have fun. You'll have to let me know if you get startled by a pot. So
I will do.
thanks
Thank
so much
you.
for calling. Bye.
Thank you. Bye,
You're
darling.
welcome. And that was Becky from London, England. And I have to say, I just love when weird things come in because you just never know what they mean and how it's going to play out. So sometimes we find out later, sometimes it's already happened. So we'll see. So we will move on to our next caller, who is Michelle from New York. Michelle, how are you today?
Hi, Colleen. How are you today?
I'm doing very well. How can I help you today?
Okay, so I'm just curious. I had a friend who passed in recent times, and also, a family member as well who's passed. Not so much in recent time, but I'd like to know if their spirit is around me. How are things over there? If they have any messages for me. I'd like to know anything about my own personal future. My own work-related situation, health issues, anything that you can pick up on, I'd be happy to hear about.
Okay. And is one of the people who passed that you are hoping to find, and sometimes we find them, sometimes we don't, but is one of them passed of an illness, a cancerous situation on the younger than we expected?
Younger, yes. It was a male. He was young.
Okay, because he feels young to me as he comes in, and I just feel an illness. I feel like stuff happening throughout my body, and and actually with him, I have to say, I do feel I'm closer to his passing, and I feel a bit of, I don't know what I want to call it, in and out. I want to be in and out. I feel like I'm sleeping a lot more. I feel like I'm here, I'm awake. When I'm awake, though, I'm very concerned about what's happening with people around me. He comes through the way he's coming through for me right now. He's coming through as a person who is kind of fun, but also is very good about being concerned about other people. Was he like that? Do I have him?
Yes, he definitely was a fun one, and very sensitive too, a sensitive soul,
Okay.
so of heart, you could say.
Yeah.
I think that's probably him that you have.
He's got there's a good vibration with him because I feel this connection of wanting to reassure people that he is good, he's not one who, of course, who would want to upset people. And I can feel him glossing over how he's feeling with people and not really saying everything because he doesn't want to worry them. And I can feel some of that with him. He's talking about the people in his life who are very important to him and how people were there for him and all of that. He says people talk to him quite a lot. You must still be talking to him.
Oh, yes, every day.
Yeah, he says people talk to him quite a lot. Boy, even though he feels like he's passed on the younger side to me, he's giving me the impression that he feels as though he had a great life, that he had good connections with good people. I feel also he had some plans he didn't get to, of course, but I feel there is a satisfaction there. He really wants to alleviate people's worry that he could have done so much more, or he would have done this, or the sadness that he passes on the sooner side. And he wants to alleviate people's worry on that and just say, no, it's no big deal. There's something. Do you know a David by any chance?
A David?
David, in the living or past?
No.
Because there's a David coming in, and it seems to be connected to this man. So I don't know if there's a connection with you or how that goes, but there is a David that is being mentioned. So I'll just put that with you. And there's also the feeling of, yeah. Can you be sarcastic sometimes?
I think he was more sarcastic than I am,
Okay. He's talking about sarcasm, and I thought he was talking about you. So he may very well be talking about himself because he's giving me the sarcastic vibe and a little bit of the teasing vibe, too.
Yes, flirting. He's a flirt.
And if people don't get what he's saying, he'll make one of those comments. But he says you got him. You understood him. You understood what he was saying, where he was coming from. And he says you'd throw it right back at him, though.
Yeah, sometimes I would.
Yeah,
depends on the circumstances.
Yeah, he's around too. But you would call him on some of that stuff, and he loved when you did that. He just did. He loved it because he said it was kind of like he was baiting you at times. And maybe other people too, just to see what would come through, and how how people would react, you know? He reminds me of someone who likes to get a reaction and
Uh-huh.
likes to see what's going on, how people will respond to him. All in good fun, though. He's not a mean person. It's all in good fun.
Yes, right. That's
Yeah,
correct. Yeah.
yeah. He's not mean. He says you're actually kind of fun yourself. He says you tend to get a little too serious at times, though.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
you will, something will bother you, and you'll kind of ruminate on it and stay on it a bit.
Yes, that's what I do.
And yeah, he says sometimes you will get worry about things that aren't that important, and you should just let them go. He seems to be one that would probably do something like that, like kind of let things go a little bit. Though he's very sensitive, so he holds on to it. So he doesn't. It's like he won't verbalize some of that sensitivity sometimes. And you might think he's let it go, but it's still inside. But he says it's a lot more fun if you let it go. Wow, that was like a roundabout philosophy lesson there from him. He is fun, though, I must say.
Yeah.
Okay, now you had some questions too, but I don't remember anything you asked. Job situation. Yeah, why are we talking about the job? Do you have a bit of a drive for your job?
No, not at all. No,
Okay,
my job is actually local.
Okay, because what I'm feeling is, you know how sometimes you have a drive and your mind is still going, and I feel it like calming down as you drive, which felt like to me like you were having a longer drive. So you must be pretty good about processing your day, I guess, is how it goes.
Yeah, I'm self-employed, so maybe
Oh,
that
okay.
it could be that I'm always, my job is 7 days a week, so and it's long hours, so I don't know if that's where the drive comes in, that I'm always going mentally.
Oh, okay.
So
And that
you might be
could be.
picking up on that.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
Michelle, apparently I've gotten my little warning and I've got to wrap you up. So, this man on the other side, he says hello and he's so happy to be talking to you, and he is feeling
Aw.
so good. So make sure you tell people that he's feeling really good.
Do
So
you see who he's with over there?
oh, no, not right now. But thank you so much for calling, because they're going to cut me off. So thank you so much for calling. And
Thank
he says hello, and he'll be talking to you again, too. So see you later. So
you.
okay, thanks. That was Michelle from New York, and I'm Colleen Vanderzyden, and this is Creating an Inspired Life. I have to think about that for a minute. I got still in spirit land over there. I didn't remember the name of the show. Creating an Inspired Life, and I'm so happy you were watching. So this week, what you want to do is you want to pay attention to how your life is going, and if you've got that little disillusionment thing happening in your life, just take a few seconds and just kind of step into that and figure out what it's trying to show you and about yourself, what you want to have in your life.